Hello everyone, welcome back to Analog IAS current affair analysis for 31st of May 2021. We'll be discussing this couple of articles today. This article is in the context of the reforms that are sought to be introduced by the new administrator of Lakshadweep. You know that union territories have a administrator or a lieutenant governor, except Delhi and Puducherry. And after Article 370 abrogation, even Jammu and Kashmir, which was previously a state, turned into union territory. So these three have MLAs or a legislative assembly. The rest of the union territories are directly ruled by the Union Home Ministry or the Ministry of Home Affairs, as it is commonly called. And this is done through an administrator. So recently, what happened was the administrator of Lakshadweep wanted to develop Lakshadweep into a new economic model, create the required infrastructure, and a set of reforms and draft laws were introduced for seeking public consultation. So, what is the issue right here? Draft laws introduced, like for example, there is something called PASA, Prevention of Anti-Social Activities Regulation, and then you have the Lakshadweep Panchayat Regulation, then you have the Lakshadweep Animal Preservation Regulation, and the most controversial one, Lakshadweep Development Authority Regulation. So what did they do? This Lakshadweep Animal Preservation Regulation and Lakshadweep Panchayat Regulation were the most controversial ones. One, they allowed beef ban, and the second one, this regulation said that panchayat members cannot contest if they have more than 2 children. And the third one is the most contested one because it is trying to take over the land of the locals forcibly according to the locals. Now there is something called IDA framework or the Island Development Authority framework. So this was constituted in Kavaratti, the capital of Lakshadweep, in 1988 itself, and this framework was actually accepted by the locals as well for the development of India's island territories. Lakshadweep is very unique. Why? There are three ecosystems which exist side by side. On one hand, you have the land ecosystem, there is a lagoon ecosystem, and then you also have ocean adjacent to that. So this gives us an opportunity to exploit marine resources, and because of the UNCLOS, the presence of islands gives us a vast access to the exclusive economic zones of these ecosystems, and therefore fishery is the main occupation here. And for this reason, there is a need to develop an environmentally sustainable solution for the development of these islands. This is exactly what the Island Development Authority always had in mind. They did not go for extravagant infrastructures that could possibly destroy this fragile ecosystems. Now this latest step to create this Lakshadweep Development Authority is envisaging a kind of a developmental model which can put this very ecosystems in danger. So there is a need to reconsider that according to the article writer. Actually, uh, this plan to develop Lakshadweep as a tourist destination was inspired from Maldives. So Maldives model, as it is famously called, is very heavily dependent on hospitality industry and tourism. The Indian government wants to promote Lakshadweep as a developmental model for tourism and replicate it elsewhere as well. But this is not a sustainable one because one, it is not people centric, and the second problem is that the concept of Maldives model may not work here because of the coral ecology. We have to understand that these islands are coral islands, so it is a very fragile ecosystem. Lakshadweep today has a lot of rainwater harvesting facilities which were introduced in the government buildings on every island. They also have solar power, All islands are connected by helicopter services way back from 1986 itself. So this is altogether a self-sustaining model. As such, people might have very low incomes here, but none of them have ever been in poverty. They live a very frugal life. So, if you take a look at what the finance commissions from 1984 to 2005, various finance commissions were set up. In the words of the last of these commissions, if I am directly quoting from the article, speedy and accurate generation of accounting information that might be needed for purposes of better planning, budget, and monitoring is required. So, this is what Lakshadweep actually requires right now. We need better data to make it better. So, what do you mean by this data, and what is that is definitely needing certain requirements is firstly, there is inequality. Just like everywhere else, this inequality is rising. Secondly, bottom trawling is a big issue. Because of this bottom trawling and unsustainable fishing practices, the reserves of fishing are directly going down, and it is also, in a way, endangering the corals as well. This is experienced in Maldives also. The so called Maldives model is also getting destroyed slowly because of tourism, which is completely not sustainable. So, the government recognizes the need to develop policies for enhancing uh, employment opportunities, but we also have to ensure that they are environment friendly as well. One more thing that the author raises here is the fact that we are completely advocating Maldives model, or even Niti Aayog is trying to do the same thing. So what happens in Maldives is they construct water bungalows. This water bungalows are actually residences within um, coral ecosystem. It's a very expensive concept, also very dangerous, because in a turbulent monsoon they will definitely collapse, unlike in the case of Maldives, because Lakshadweep's ecosystem is slightly different from Maldives. So Niti Aayog, according to the writer, cannot be more wrong than suggesting this model for Lakshadweep, which is more or less having a very self-sustainable model. So pursuit of holistic development is definitely needed, but the methodologies adopted by the present administrator is a big no, according to the author. And within this concept of holistic development, the administrator, according to the writer, must understand that unless the local culture is respected, unless they have a social capital, they will not be able to leverage their soft power. With the recent law that was brought out, which is considered the anti-Gunda legislation, which is almost a preventive detention law, they undermine the ownership of tribals. And considering the fact that 95% of the population consists of either STs or Muslims, the beef ban is also a very unwelcome step, because that is a very much integral part of their culture. So, provision to allow the mining exploitation of mineral resources in this region by the Lakshadweep Development Authority is again seen with a lot of suspicion, because there can be a danger where the locals will be removed from that place. Even the panchayat rules which were changed recently to restrict the population growth, that is completely unwarranted, because if you take a look at the latest National Health and Family Survey round 5, which came out in 2020, the total fertility rate is 1.4, which is much less than the total fertility replacement level of 2.1. So this prohibition is completely not warranted, so it should be completely done away with as soon as possible. Again, there was a lot of controversy about the relaxation of quarantine rules for travels. So as a result, because of this relaxation, the locals have suffered because of the rising number of COVID cases. It put a lot of stress on their healthcare system. So, what the government must understand, especially the Ministry of Home Affairs, according to the writer, is that without respecting this local conditions, culture, imposing some foreign model on this island will definitely not work in the favor of their holistic development. The very objective will be sidelined. That is the gist of this article. Evidence of how little the judiciary has learnt. So, we are talking about a specific judgment relating to the workplace safety of women. So, there is a magazine called Tehelka. That magazine's editor actually faced some rape charges. However, this person was acquitted in a recent judgment. But Goa court found several faults with the police investigation of the complaint and also made controversial remarks regarding the woman's behavior, saying it was not indicative of the sexual assault. Again, additional sessions judge has actually acquitted Tejpal on May 21st, but the 527 page verdict became available on last Tuesday. The case against Tejpal was that he sexually assaulted the woman, a junior colleague, inside an elevator of a hotel in Goa in 2013. So, this acquittal is now being examined by the Goa court. What is the issue right here? The issue is the honor and self respect of women in a country is actually judged by a very narrow worldview. In the original judgment where the accused was acquitted, in that the court made some certain controversial statements, saying that the victim did not exhibit any kind of behavior that was expected from a victim. So, in this particular article, the writer criticizes such a statement or such a stance because one cannot question the honor and dignity of women just because the woman is not behaving in the expected lines of the court. Just like in many cases, recently NCRB report shows a very low conviction rate when it comes to violence against women. One of the major reason is lack of sensitization, according to the author, on the part of judiciary and other wings of the criminal justice system. This can include sometimes even the police departments and their way of handling the cases as well. Strictly from a legal standpoint, there is no expected post rape behavior. Nobody defines this. This is completely depending on the person. You cannot define a post rape behavior and kind of create a norm around it. So the author questions who has authorized these judges to become custodians of morality and decide that there is a particular way in which Indian women must behave after rape. So, this is where the author also goes on to question if such traditional beliefs are held by the judges of the court, and if the woman is not following those norms, does it mean that the person who has faced this trauma is completely giving out a false complaint? This is completely unexpected because way back in 1979, a rape survivor had to prove through physical marks on her body that she did not consent for what was done to her. So, going on the similar lines, we have evolved from that space, and in 2021, if such kind of remarks are made by judicial courts, where else can a normal citizen go expecting certain justice? So, this is the basic problem that the author finds in the conduct of the judges. Now, the second part of the article talks about how there is a violation of laws and violation of privacy. So, in the arguments in the court, a lot of WhatsApp messages that were exchanged were actually used as a sort of an evidence. So, a question that was completely irrelevant to the particular case in question was also taken into context, and the author says that this has actually led to barbaric and cruel cross examination of her personal life as well. So her privacy is also violated in this particular case. The next problem is that there is sympathy towards the accused. So the judgment says that the accused was in fact pressurized to give an apology, whereas when it comes to the description of the survivor, it is said that she twisted and manipulated the truth. So this is more or less on the similar lines of the argument shown in the movie Pink. Probably this must have been the inspiration behind that. Anyway, coming back to the article, this is more about the attitudes of the institutions, or the attitudes of the people manning those institutions towards the idea of workplace safety. This kind of behavior is completely unexpected from the judiciary, and therefore the author says that this case should not be seen as a precedent for getting away with workplace safety issues. That is the gist of this article.